And the deeper layer to what it is costing you is none of these people that you're in these social settings with know the real you. And that is the thing that is the biggest cost. Because the fatigue is one, for sure, but leaving those social gatherings feeling unseen is really, really painful. Welcome to Sensitive and Self-Assured. Before we get to today's topic, let me tell you how I know you are in the right place. You feel everything. Somewhere along the way, you started believing that was a problem. My name is Alyssa, a highly sensitive woman who stopped trying to fix herself and started learning to trust herself instead. This podcast is for the woman who edits herself before she speaks, loses herself in relationships, and still quietly wonders if something is simply wrong with her. Nothing is wrong with you. Your sensitivity is not a problem to fix, and self-assurance is not out of reach. They belong together, and this is where the two meet. This is Sensitive and Self-Assured. Last week, I talked about having compassion for yourself, and one of the ways that I see this showing up for my clients and the judgment that they have, and instead of compassion, is leaving social settings completely drained and needing lots of time to recover after. And I know that experience for sure because I still have it to a certain degree, but I used to have it like a lot. And so I thought it would be helpful to talk about that experience. And one of the biggest things that is contributing to being completely drained when you leave those social settings. And so I want you to imagine that you're at a gathering with women who you genuinely like and you want to be there. A topic comes up. You have something that you want to say, something real, something good. You really want to contribute to the conversation. And then there's this internal mechanism that kicks in. Is this the right moment? Will that sound weird? What am I even saying? What if they disagree? And by the time you have run through all of those different filters and questions and checklists, the moment is gone and you say nothing. And then you leave early because you are completely drained from the situation. And then the next 3 days, you replay everything that you wished that you had said. Or if you did say something at all, you replay that and analyze it completely. So if this sounds familiar to you, then you are in the right place because today I'm talking about why this happens, what it is costing you, and what is possible on the other side when you stop. So the first piece to this is what is happening and why. And it is that you are editing yourself before you ever speak. You rehearse the sentences in your head and then you abandon them. You wait for the absolute perfect moment that never comes. There's never this pause where you can say exactly what you were thinking. So often we don't want to interrupt people, but the truth is people talk over each other all the time, but we are waiting for that perfect moment to say what we are thinking. Going quiet in group settings, even when you have something to say, that's what pre-editing looks like. And then you're also monitoring others' expressions while you are still formulating a thought. So your brain is trained to do a couple of things at once. It's trying to formulate what you want to say, and then you're also watching everyone else and trying to listen to what everyone else is saying and watching the reactions to all of those things that are being said. And as highly sensitive women, this is not just your nerves kicking in. It truly is like your nervous system on overdrive, trying to process all of those different things that are happening in the room, the energy, the reactions that are happening, the potential reactions, all of those things at one time. And your nervous system is kind of on overdrive. So it is no wonder that actually saying the words out loud feels like a lot. But it is costing you a lot. It is costing you energy, and it is contributing to that completely drained fatigue that you experience every time you are in a social setting. So I was working with a client, and we have been working together for a while, and she was showing up in these settings with women she genuinely wanted to connect with. But she was doing what I was just describing. She was spending so much mental energy managing what she wanted to say that she never said it. And she would leave early, and she would feel absolutely exhausted, and then spend days in this loop of, I should have said this. Why didn't I say? What must they be thinking of me because I wasn't talking and I left early? And then she would need these long periods of time after in solitude to recover, because she was running this like internal editing after the fact. In the moment, all that internal editing. After the fact, all that internal editing. And then she is drained, and then she's beating herself up for being drained, and why didn't I say, and I should have said, and all of that kind of stuff. And there's the energy drain that's in the room. That editing in real time, it is cognitively and physically exhausting, because you're not just talking, if you are talking at all, but you're running that simultaneous filter on all of the thought and processing everything that's happening in the room. There's that rumination that is after. The unexpressed thoughts, they don't go away. They're still there because you didn't express them and you so desperately want to. You replay the things that you didn't say, and they haunt us. They absolutely haunt us. Sometimes longer than the things that we do say, honestly. And I know those things haunt us too. And then there's that recovery tax, right? That the aftermath of the self-suppression, and we frame that as introversion, but it's downtime that maybe isn't restoring you because you're just recovering from all of that effort to manage yourself. And, I've talked about introversion and the actual definition of that previously, and I will revisit that topic another time. But when you have this pattern of the energy drain in the room, the rumination after, and then the recovery tax, it starts as self-protection, and it makes sense to a certain degree at various points in your life. But then there comes a point where it's really helpful to get curious about what it is actually costing you, because it's costing you all of this energy for sure. And the deeper layer to what it is costing you is none of these people that you're in these social settings with know the real you. And that is the thing that is the biggest cost. Because the fatigue is one, for sure, but leaving those social gatherings feeling unseen is really, really painful. And that is the heart of why I want to have this conversation, because I want you to be able to show up in those spaces and enjoy the people that you are in community with, and to leave feeling seen and heard and understood, because you have the capacity to let them in. But here's what's interesting for my client, that she was exhausted from all of that. And now she was exhausted from all of that. And she thought it was because she just couldn't be around people. The people were draining. And as we have been working together, and she is now not editing herself as much. Now she's noticing that when she allows the exchange, that she is seen and she is heard, and the connection that she has with the people is actually restorative and not as draining. So let me tell you what it looks like for her now. She started noticing this pattern, and it wasn't something that we fixed immediately. For me personally, it wasn't something that I fixed immediately. My client, she didn't fix it immediately. So I don't want to give this misconception that this is something like a light switch. You just flip it on and boom, you're done. But we started with noticing what was happening in those social settings without judgment. And then she began to ask, what am I afraid will happen if I say this, and kind of fill in the blank. And then slowly, over time, in spaces that felt safe, she started to let thoughts out. The thoughts were unpolished. They maybe were imperfect and not exactly the way that she wanted to say them, but they were real. And they were from her heart. And she started to see that the other women valued the questions that she was asking, the insight that she was providing, the very things that she had been holding back previously. She started leaving gatherings with energy instead of feeling completely depleted. Don't get me wrong, social settings, they can still drain us of our energy, and we do need, most of us who are highly sensitive women, do need some time in solitude to re-energize. But she didn't feel so depleted that she needed as much time to recover. And that less recovery time, it's not because she was a different person or because she's no longer sensitive, but because expressing yourself authentically is far less exhausting than suppressing all of that and trying to process everything all at one time. And she got to show up as her true, authentic, real self. That is what it is like to start building this new pattern. And that is what coaching is designed to do. It's not about being told to do something in a different way, that the way you've been doing it is wrong and you need to do it this way and to be someone or some way else. Is that how you say that? Someone else, or to be something different, or to behave in a different way. It's not that. It's about slowing down enough to see what is driving you. What is the force kind of behind the reason that you are editing, and then building enough safety with yourself that you don't feel the need to filter as much, and you can start letting some of that out. And then you start to be seen, you start to be heard, you start to feel understood, and you start showing up as the real you with all of your sensitivities and all of your thoughts and insights and questions. It starts just being expressed. It's not different. You're not a different person. You haven't become a version of yourself that doesn't feel right. You're letting the right version of yourself out. And I know that the editing right now, it probably feels protective. And in some seasons of life, it was. There are times when it is valuable to edit. There are certain situations, certain people you might be around where you know it is beneficial to edit. But for the most part, it is so much easier to manage your energy and to not leave social settings drained and lying awake at night, replaying all the things that you didn't say when you express. and you allow the people you are with to see who you really are. Because your nervous system doesn't have to continue to pay the tax that isn't worth the tax that it's paying. You don't have to say everything that comes to mind or ask every question that pops in your head, but you do deserve to say something that is true and real and authentic for you. And if you recognize that this is happening for you, maybe you see yourself in these social settings, or maybe you aren't showing up to the social settings anymore because this has been your pattern and you so desperately want to be in some social settings again, and you are curious about what it would like to work through this process with some support, then I invite you to schedule a consultation. The link is in the show notes, and we can just have a conversation about what this looks like for you on a day-to-day basis and how I can help, and then see if that feels like a good fit for you. Because here is what I know to be true. You were never meant to abandon yourself to get through life. You were meant to live it sensitive and self-assured. Until next time, take care.